The beginning of all things is reflected through their nature. Those that are nothing feel an urge to make others like them, but should they be ridiculed by following their instinct? For that instinct is their beginning, their way of life. Something set so deep within oneself that becoming aware of said beginning could completely change the severity of how they follow their nature. Those who are worthless see no value within themselves. Those who have a peaceful start take on that of a pacifist, and someone who is nothing would only benefit from overcoming their nature, that being only possible by crossing the empty boundary. No Kyoukai, or Garden of Sinners, was originally a 1998 web novel series written by Kinoko Nasu and published by Type Moon. In 2007, Studio Ufotable animated the series in the form of 10 movies, the first 7 being the main story and movies 8 through 10 being small side stories. No Kyoukai is one of the first entries into Nasu's shared universe, the Nasuverse, sharing the same world with titles such as Fate's Day Night and Tsukihime. How does No Kyoukai stand not only as a foundation for this layered and complex world, but as a standalone, dark, supernatural thriller? No Kyoukai centers around the characters at an unordinary detective agency, Gara no Do. The head, Aozaki Toko, and her subordinates, Assistant Ryogi Shiki and Investigator Mikia Koto, are tasked with uncovering various supernatural cases and the connection between them. For 7 movies, it follows the story of these characters through a string of events and what each one gains after the cases reach their close. The movies are told in non-chronological order. For example, the first movie, which is 4th chronologically, references an event that happens in the 3rd film, and the 2nd and 4th films are the first 2 chronologically. It adds an extra layer to the storytelling, as it is up to you to determine what event happened when. And though it can cause confusion at first, it is highly unadvised to watch the movies in chronological order, as it is told this way for a reason. The 5th film, Paradox Spiral, embraces this design choice and features an entire film where scenes are unsequenced, causing both intrigue and disconcert. Doing this allows for extra suspense, tension, and mystery behind the characters. Each movie brings up certain plot points and details only to leave the fulfillment to a future chapter. While it may be perplexing, if you are willing to push through, that confusion will dissipate. This is one of those series that constantly has multiple moving parts. While one thing is happening, a different but connected event is taking place at the same time, all while both events develop the current situation and those entangled in it. This is a set of films you can't pay half attention to and fully comprehend. There are certain details you would miss because of the depth and complexity of the topics the series covers. Body language, backstories, Nasuverse-related lore and concepts are all things that may be overlooked on the first watch. After watching it for the first time, wait a bit, maybe 6 months or a year, and give it a rewatch. Catching everything that these movies have to offer on one watch is quite difficult. While you try to understand characters, setting, and the major plot, there will definitely be important details that will be missed due to the story's complexity. So once the comprehension of the basics are covered, catching the small specific details can enhance your impression on this set of films. A dark setting filled with dread, but never crossing the line of edginess. The themes are handled in a mature way, not solely relying on its gritty nature to keep you interested. While some characters have to endure gruesome fates, most of which is shown, is done in a meaningful way, never letting their endeavors seem completely hopeless, as they always learn to reform a moral by the end of it. The more you think about the why and how, as not everything is directly stated, brings out the top quality writing the story has to offer. No Kyoukai is the first series within the Nasuverse, and as so brings up many concepts that will be explained within future series. It contains many ideas, but doesn't go so far as to give proper details about them. But it isn't as you would be confused. The concepts left unexplained work within the setting and add more mystery and intrigue into this fleshed out world. And of course, like any story, while not major, still has a few problems. Throughout, there can be heavy exposition which is used to explain many of the world's concepts. Nothing significant happens and can go on for a few minutes to completely convey an idea's details. This also leads into some pacing issues where there are moments in the series where it can be quite slow and uninteresting as the movie takes its time to build up. The story flawlessly develops the plot and the world through its characters, which breathes life and personality into this sorrowful world and situations. The cast is one that at first glance seemed to follow certain archetypes, but that isn't farther from the truth. While that might be the impression from the first film, everything after that serves to continuously add on and build to the nuances of the protagonists. The films mostly center around Yogi Shiki, a girl who comes from a demon hunter clan, and after an accident had acquired the mystic eyes of death perception, the ability to see and bring forth the death of any object by cutting its lines. Along with those eyes came an unclear past. She awakened in the hospital bed, only to be met with the suffering due to her eyes and the loss of a part of herself. The 7-film journey is her finding a meaning to her life while she faces this urge to kill, but indulging in that impulse will only disappoint the one she truly cares about. She talks about death and killing in a philosophical manner. Some of her quotes can really cause you to stop and think the true meaning of her words. She's the deepest and most complex character in the series, conveying many important messages throughout her character arc. She's assailed with numerous mental and physical problems, and how she deals with them develops her, which in the end changes her for the better. Her lover, Koto Mikia, while not matching up to her, is still an amazing character in his own right. Mikia is the normal in the supernatural written plot. He is the ordinary in the string of unordinary cases, and while his design may give off the generic nice guy look, while that isn't wrong to a certain degree, that is only the surface of his character. Underneath, he has many issues and troubles of his own. He has his strengths as a person and of course, his faults. He isn't the perfect being, and sometimes there are points in time when he's about to break his pacifist ideals. The relationship between Mikia and Shiki is a highlight of the story. These two completely different and at first unrelated people hold a unique bond. Their beliefs and nature directly contrast each other, yet because of their polarity serves to build each other up and learn from each other. The chemistry and development these two get is beautiful and satisfying to experience. The side characters, while lacking in quantity, makes up for it with quality. Aozaki Toko, the head of the detective agency, is carefree yet serious. Her personality brightens this gloomy story and carries around an aura of intrigue. She plays many roles within the major plot, and there are many moments that add to her character. While some of her past, hobbies, and magic are revealed, most of her remains shrouded in mystery. Another standout character features in movie 5 Paradox Spiral, temporary main cast member Enjo Tomoe. Despite only being in one film, he is one of the most fleshed out and realistic characters in the series. Being driven to insanity by his haunting dreams, he acts out on them to save himself. With the blood of his parents on his hands, he is unsure what to think or do with himself. The path ahead of him is filled with guilt and uncertainty, which leads him to learn the truth behind his family and reflect on his many mistakes in life. In this world filled with the supernatural, he is the one that is most human. He conveys a wide array of emotions while finding out about his past, and how he deals with the problems he is faced with cause him to be worthy of empathy. Only starring within a singular film, Tomoe Enjo stands out, showing he is the most human and realistic among the cast. A majority of the various antagonists managed to be just as compelling as the main characters. There were a few who weren't up to par, but how they fit into Shiki's and the mastermind's overarching plot is handled flawlessly. Asagami Fujino, Araya Soren, Shirazumi Ryo are fascinating characters that all have personal motivations and deep reasoning for them. The melancholic upbringing for them is done in such a way that, even though you may not agree with them, you can at least understand the why and not have complete hatred or disinterest. The antagonists are able to develop themselves while also inducing other character arcs to flourish. While every character holds their own and has their own development, they also manage to build other characters, the plot, and the world. Sometimes characters don't get direct development. Toko manages to build her character and the world of mages via small offhand dialogue throughout this 11.5-hour runtime. The same goes for many others. Sometimes they are referenced in another film, and through that small conversation gives further development to said character. The depth of the cast is mostly consistent with some stray hairs every now and then. There is always the reasoning as to why someone did something, but most have an extra layer behind their motives and actions, and adds multiple factors as to why that reasoning happened. A reasoning behind the reasoning. And what better way to demonstrate the depth and compelling nature of the characters and story through the top-class art and animation. What Studio Ufotable was able to achieve with these films is simply unbelievable. As of 2021, it's quite remarkable that these sets of films are still some of the most gorgeous and stunning in anime. It's hard to believe that the first film was made in 2006 and consistently improves with each film. In action sequences, the dynamic camera angles and choreography make each and every fight visually attractive, with not only the weight of the fight making them memorable, but the visual spectacle enhancing every second of it. The beautifully drawn character models, mixed with outstanding lighting and particle effects, makes for many aesthetically pleasing clashes. The flashy fights aren't the only thing that stands out in this department, as the slower and more methodical moments are also well executed. There is some amazing direction here that manages to completely set the tone for each and every moment. The art serves to augment the tone of the films to a serious degree. The lighting and backgrounds accordize the dark and gritty atmosphere the story sets. Without a doubt, this anime features breathtaking animation, which the effectiveness only raises when paired with the euphonious soundtrack. The music done by Yuki Kajira is simply phenomenal. The track set the atmosphere and mood by itself alone. There's an abundance of amazing piano tracks that can really lighten the mood or become tense on a moment's notice. It's refreshing to hear the same style but have it used differently to change the ambiance of the moment. It's powerful, adding extra impact on top of what the story provides. When a film reaches its climax, choral pieces take over and culminate, blending them into perfect harmony with its art to make any ending, whether the middle was lackluster or not, into something gratifying. This is definitely one of her best scores, if not the best. There are a variety of tracks that become ingrained in the mind, and that's not including the well-pronounced leitmotifs. Within each film, there will be multiple leitmotifs to represent the themes of certain characters. Shiki's theme is what usually comes to mind, and how it is played adds extra meaning to the scene it is played over. The amount of variations of a certain track doesn't make it feel overplayed in the slightest, but instead supplements it with each rendition. All of this culminates to a soundtrack that is consistently masterful. All of these elements intertwine to establish a breathtaking, thought-provoking experience that provides both remarkable production value as well as a substance to match. I give No Kyoukai a 9.05 out of 10. Though as great as the series is, there are some downsides. Because of the show's nature and complexity, as well as the chronology, can make this confusing on the first watch. There are some pacing issues, as the setup and exposition within some of the films can take quite a while. Some characters, most notably a few antagonists, are underdeveloped and are easily forgettable. But if you are willing to look past the initial confusion, there is a lot to love. The deep and complex storytelling and themes, unique and fleshed out character arcs, top-of-the-line art and animation, and on top of that, a melodious OST, cause No Kyoukai to be one of the most compelling series I have seen. After watching it for the second time, I was left wanting to watch it again. It is a series that leaves off on a satisfying note. Not really wanting more, but wanting to find more hidden meanings within the initial series. I had a newfound appreciation on my second watch, this time comprehending a lot more about the characters and themes that were being conveyed. There were many moments while watching where I really had to pause it and think for a bit. The conversation between characters handled topics like life, death, and self in a unique way that, at times, caused me to reflect on my own outlook on the topic. Every time I looked into such things, I was left in awe of how such subjects were told and appreciated this one-of-a-kind perspective. Once it was over, I knew that this has risen to be my #1 anime. I don't believe it to be Nasu's best work, but I can confidently say it is Ufotable's and Type Moon's best anime. No Kyoukai is available to stream on Crunchyroll. I hope you enjoyed. My next video will be about Ski no Sango. Thanks for watching. Later.